At what point do you start or even consider bringing your child in for braces?
I would suggest that the child be examined by the time they're 6.
Oh,
Really?
okay.
Wow.
Yes.
Why?
So remember when the kids were born, they had a soft spot on the
Soft
top of the
spot.
head.
Yeah.
That's where the two bones on the two sides, they hadn't come together yet. It's
Right.
the
Yeah.
soft spot.
Right.
And you have that all through your face, including your jaws, where by the time your child is 5 or 6 years old, okay, all the bones are touching, but they haven't really
they're still
fused.
soft.
They're
Yeah.
soft and squishy. And so if the jaws aren't the right size, you can help the jaws grow better. But that window of opportunity is kind of narrow.
Welcome to Care Experts, a podcast dedicated to empowering you with knowledge for your health and self-care. I'm Melissa, a broadcast journalist.
And I'm Selah, a former fitness coach and personal trainer.
Each week, we interview top wellness and medical specialists from across the country, addressing your questions, even those you might be afraid to ask.
From your fur baby's well-being to skincare secrets to honest talk about bigger health issues, get it straight from the expert.
Join us every Wednesday for insights that will guide you on your health journey.
From cosmetic to dental and vet to vision, this is Care Experts. We are talking about braces today on Care Experts.
Straight teeth.
All about braces.
Everybody wants them, but are they willing to go through what it takes to get them?
I mean, let's find out what it takes.
And you know who knows exactly what it takes?
Our expert.
Yeah, it's Dr. Daniel Gurman. He is the founder of OrthoBrain and Gurman Orthodontics. He was named the Distinguished Alumni from his orthodontic residency and served on the faculty of The Ohio State University.
Well, I am so excited to hear from him.
Me too. And here we go. Look who's here. It's Dr. Daniel Gurman in the house.
I am so excited
Me
to
too.
ask you all of my questions about braces and orthodontists.
Okay, so let's start with why you decided to become an orthodontist. Where did that come from?
I decided to become an orthodontist because I wanted to be a doctor. Well, let's be fair about this.
Sure.
My parents wanted me to be
That's where it
okay.
begins for us
Always
all.
begins.
Let's get really
Yeah,
specific.
Yeah, start at the
Mom
beginning.
said, you will be a doctor.
Oh, there it is. And
So I
you
became a
said,
doctor.
okay.
And you
Like,
said,
yeah, that's
okay.
cool. But a lot of the doctors that I knew, they worked all the time.
Yeah.
They were never
It's a
home. So
hard
when I go to the
lifestyle.
ball field, I never saw those real doctors, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
I say real doctors, meaning medical doctors who do
understand.
operations and things.
Surgeons.
You know what it is? I'm a very sensitive person. And if somebody's in pain, I just fall apart. I don't want to see anybody suffering. I don't do
Sure.
well with people that are sick. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to help people, but I couldn't take the suffering that went with being a medical doctor.
Right.
So I stumbled upon orthodontics. Orthodontics, where you're able to do doctoring, change people's lives, and not have all the suffering that goes with all these terrible medical problems that people have.
The emotional trauma.
Sure, and it opens up the opportunity for us to have hours that would accommodate building a family.
Becoming an orthodontist, you're becoming a doctor, right?
Yes.
It's not like you're just, which is still a lot, doing 4 years of undergrad. What goes into becoming an orthodontist?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a really rigorous program to become an
Wow.
orthodontist doctor.
Okay.
What's involved? After you finish high school, you've got 4 years of college.
Right.
If you do really, really well in college and you have really good grades, taking really hard courses, then you can get into dental school. And after 4 years of dental school, if you graduate very close to the tippy top of your class, then you might get into an orthodontic residency and become an orthodontic resident. So it's a long time. It's a lot of money. You pay tuition all the way through your
Wow.
orthodontics. So it's a big commitment.
Right.
So clearly you wanted this.
You knew that you wanted to focus on that.
In order to do that, you have to be very determined and
Right.
persistent
Right.
to follow such a long program.
Wow.
Well worth it with the way you can change lives.
Dr. Gurman, you attended Case Western Reserve University School of Dental Medicine, and you attended the University of Louisville Orthodontics Residency Program, where you received the Distinguished Alumni Award. That is major. What did that entail?
Well, I believe that they gave me the award for many of the contributions I made to the profession. So we have this philosophy in my house. It goes something like this: anything worth doing is worth overdoing.
Oh, I haven't heard that one.
An overachiever.
Overachiever, yes.
Little
All right. Overachiever,
Yeah.
given the IQ that I have to work with. Now, here's what we did: is wrote a number of articles that are in the orthodontic literature, meaning orthodontist folks will do research, try out new techniques, invent new things, and whenever I did that, I would publish it. And so it brought some notoriety to the university because now one of their grads is in the professional literature. And I also found a best friend. My best friend is the microphone. With 7 kids, people don't really listen to me all the time, but the microphone always does.
I hear that.
So I became a speaker, and I love to educate, not only my children, but I love to educate people that want to provide orthodontic care.
Other doctors.
And so I have spoken at orthodontic conferences and dental conferences from California to New Zealand, Australia, Africa, all around the globe.
And you seem like you really enjoy it still.
Yeah.
Plus, also, if you are just listening and not watching, you have beautiful teeth.
I mean,
You kind of have to, though.
gorgeous.
right?
You are a walking advertisement.
I mean, truly,
Yeah.
yeah. So, in addition to being a speaker, in addition to having your own orthodontic practice and being the founder of OrthoBrain, you did an advanced mini residency, interdisciplinary excellence. I can't even. What? Explain to me why one would go and do another residency after having already completed your orthodontic training.
Right. So it's an excellent question. When I first became an orthodontist, orthodontics was primarily for children. In the orthodontic residencies, we treated almost entirely young people.
Right. Okay.
And as orthodontics began to spread to adults and became more popular with adults, once we realized the profound impact that we can have on adults by moving teeth, then it opened up a whole new opportunity for the profession, for patients, and for learning new things. So as an orthodontist, I had to gain a much better understanding of how to move teeth to better replace missing teeth and how to make them look better, how to make them last longer, how to make sure that the gums are going to be healthy. So adults have a whole nother level of consideration to take into account before planning the treatment.
That makes so you went to do the mini residency to learn adult teeth, essentially.
Exactly. Learn how do you work with adults, and more importantly, this is a kind of a newer thing in dentistry. That is how to collaborate. How does the dentist, the family dentist, interact with the specialist?
Right.
Okay.
And the lines become blurred as to who does what. And so having that knowledge share between specialists and non-specialists is for the betterment of the patients when the doctors are communicating with each other, when they both build on their knowledge bases. Because there are occasions when the regular dentist will do orthodontic treatment.
Right. And I'm so glad that you said that, because let's make a distinction for people who don't know or aren't completely aware of the difference between a regular dentist, that's what most people are going to refer to it as, and an orthodontist. What is the difference?
Yeah, so it's an excellent question. A regular dentist makes it sound like that's easier, and it's really much harder.
Sure.
So a general practitioner has a huge knowledge base, and they do so many different procedures, right? An orthodontic specialist is limited to providing orthodontic care with braces, aligners, expanders. That's their focus, and that's all they do in their practice. Whereas a general practitioner does many procedures such as fillings and cleanings and caps and veneers, aesthetic work. And now with the advent, with the digital revolution, they're providing orthodontic care at a high level.
Okay.
And cosmetic dentistry and things like that. Okay.
Exactly.
So let's talk about braces, all right? What are traditional braces?
So traditional braces are the stick-ons. What we see now is that the dentist or the orthodontist will take a brace, have some sticky stuff on the back, touch it to the tooth, they shine a light on it, it sticks to the tooth, and then they can place a wire in there.
That's what I had as a
straighten the
kid. I
teeth.
remember that glue feeling. It might be different
Were
now.
they
but
metal brackets?
I
the
had
little
metal
brackets?
brackets,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is that's still, I mean, that's the
that- yeah, is that
traditional
still the
that
traditional way?
The way?
Yeah, metal brackets are still
Okay.
out there. There
Okay.
are a variety of different styles of braces. Some of them are less obvious than the metal braces. So
Can
there
you
are,
still change the color
Vintage.
bands?
Vintage if you do that.
Yeah, I used to change the colors, like my school
Ooh.
colors or
Ooh.
Christmas. Can you still do
Ooh,
that?
look at you.
Oh, I was
Yes.
it, man, with my braces.
yes, you can change your colors
Okay.
at every appointment.
Why do you think that metal braces have been around for so long?
Oh, it's a great question. They've been around for a long time because they were invented before the other ways of moving teeth.
Well, there you
Okay.
go.
Okay, so they were invented, say, 125 years or longer ago.
What?
And people were doing it that long ago?
Yes, there were some brilliant people that figured out how to straighten teeth by putting pressure on the teeth with braces. They look a little different than the ones do now.
Right.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
But nevertheless, it was the same kind of concept.
Sure.
And over the years, optimization of all of the materials have evolved, made it more comfortable for patients, easier for doctors to apply them, and made it much more affordable.
What is that application process like if you're going the traditional braces route? You just mentioned applying the brackets and some kind of a sticky substance and then the blue light. But walk me through. If I'm coming in, we've decided I'm going the traditional braces route. What happens during that?
And how is it different from when we were kids, for example?
Everything is different, and it
Okay.
should be
Of
much
course
better.
it
It should much
is.
be a
That's
much better
true.
experience. When people went in to get braces, once upon a time, a long time ago, it would take a number of different appointments before you could actually get braces. You'd go in first and you'd have pictures made, and then you would come back and you
Yep.
would look at the pictures with the doctor, and they would talk about the treatment, and then maybe they would give you some pre-braces to get you ready
The
for a week or
brackets.
two. And then you would come into the office and you would lay down backwards in a chair, and for an hour and a half or so, you would have big lip stretchers in.
Yep.
Right?
I remember this.
What a shot that is,
kidding.
right? So you get the lip stretchers. Take
Yep.
comfort knowing that once you lick your lips, they go back to their original size.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
So the lip stretchers are in. You're in there for about an hour and a half, and the doctor and the team are carefully placing each of the braces, shining the light on to get them to stick in the right place, and then eventually they put the wires in, and there you go. However, with the digital revolution, you can now do a lot of the work on a computer to design the braces so that the braces can be placed in something that looks like a retainer so that the doctor office puts the adhesive on the back of the braces and
And it's
slides
like
it
a
onto the
Get
teeth.
Oh my gosh.
Wait a
Our
minute.
kids don't even know, okay?
Wait a minute.
They don't know.
What, are you saying that instead of meticulously one by
each-
one on each tooth,
God.
that's not the way they do
You
it
just
anymore?
put your mouth in like a retainer, like a mold, and then they stick in?
You can use the digital mold in
Oh
order
my-
to create
I know.
braces.
But the adjustments, right? So instead of doing the old school method, you got this new school method. You're not in the chair for an hour and a half. You're not doing multiple appointments anymore. 2 weeks between this appointment. That's not happening.
There are many times where you can get your braces at your second appointment.
Get
Wow.
So how many adjustments are needed during the process?
Excellent question. It depends on how long the process is going to be, how complicated the problem is, and stage of growth of the child. So there is a lot that goes into how long treatment takes. I would imagine that most intervals between appointments are going to be between 4 and 10 weeks.
Okay.
Okay.
And if the typical treatment is going to be between 18 months and 2 years, that gives you a sense of how often you're going to be in the orthodontic office.
I see.
And what age does it start? The reason I'm asking this is because my son is almost 6 years old. He has not lost any of his baby teeth yet, but lots of his friends have been losing teeth. And I know they're getting their grown-up adult teeth. At what point do you start or even consider bringing your child in for braces?
I would suggest that the child be examined by the time they're 6.
Really?
Okay.
Wow.
Yes.
Why?
Okay.
There are many problems that can be corrected while the children have soft and squishy jaws.
Oh.
So remember when the kids were born, they had a soft spot on the
Soft
top of the
spot.
head.
Yeah.
That's where the two bones on the two sides, they hadn't come together yet.
Right.
It's the
Yeah.
soft spot.
Right.
And you have that all through your face, including your
Yeah.
jaws, where by the time your child is 5 or 6 years old, okay, all the bones are touching, but they haven't really
they're still
fused.
soft.
They're
Yeah.
soft and squishy. And so if the jaws aren't the right size, you can help the jaws grow better. But that window of opportunity is kind of narrow.
So
right?
they would get orthodontic care at that age, or no? You would just have them examined.
I would have them examined, and there are instances where the treatment is indicated at that age and sometimes even earlier. And for example, in my house,
Yeah.
all of my children were treated while they still had baby teeth, and some of them, 3 of them, had all baby teeth while they were treated.
With braces?
You are blowing my mind right now because
know.
Dr. Gurman, I really thought we needed to wait. And I feel
Me
like
too.
most moms, most parents think, okay, they have to lose all their baby teeth
I
before we
thought
can
that for
really have
sure.
any kind of orthodontic intervention. And what you're saying is that's simply not the case.
And they would be treated with braces or with retainers, or what would be the treatment?
So the treatment is going to vary based on the nature of the problem.
Okay.
Commonly, at a young age, they would do something called pre-braces or expanders to make more room.
Expanders.
And as part of that, they may have some braces that are applied in conjunction with those jaw-growing appliances.
So you
This is fascinating.
recommend younger. Younger is better.
Younger is better because the jaws are softer, more squishy, and as the kids turn into teenagers, the jaws turn into steel.
Oh, man.
And they don't move very well. And at that point, you're limited to moving teeth. So you can valet park the teeth with braces at any age, but you can only have an impact on jaws while they're soft and squishy.
Okay. And what about, you mentioned expanders. So what types of expanders and what types of retainers are there? I remember getting retainers post braces, but explain what the difference and when you need them.
Yeah, it's an excellent question because a retainer, as you would gather from the name, retains things where they are.
Right.
So a retainer is indicated when everything is right where you want it to be and you want to put the brakes on, no more teeth movement. So you make a retainer and it holds things, typically after you've expanded jaws or after you have straightened all the teeth. Now you can have these growth appliances. Some parents call them retainers, but they're not really retaining anything. They're helping the jaws grow. They're often referred to by parents as expanders or spacers. I hear
Spacers,
them called
I've heard
spacers a lot.
that.
We're
Yeah,
making
yeah.
more space for teeth. There's not enough room. We don't have enough parking for all the teeth. So let's make some more
really
parking
into
with
these
some
parking
expanders.
references, Dr. Gurman.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, I love this though because I have a very small mouth and I noticed my second son also does, and his teeth are very crammed. So maybe if I had been seen at age 6, like I'm now going to have him do,
seen, yeah.
then I could have had the opportunity to have a bigger, beautiful smile like Melissa's.
Earlier, that's kind, but earlier intervention, I guess the better,
Earlier,
right,
yeah.
Dr. Gurman?
That smile's looking pretty fantastic from right here. I'm
I
just saying,
always
right
wanted a
here,
huge
I don't know,
smile.
I've got that thing looks perfect.
Thank you, Dr. Gurman.
So yes, at a young age, that's when you're able to affect some of these changes using a combination of growth appliances, expanders, spacers, as parents call them, and sometimes with braces on top.
And a 6-year-old, someone as young as a 6-year-old, or even younger, as you mentioned, would be able to. I mean, I'm assuming that they come in and out. Like this isn't a permanent or semi-permanent situation where the orthodontist places the device and then it's set and forget it until the next appointment. This is an in and out type of
Do
thing.
they take him out at night?
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean.
You can use either one or
Okay.
both.
Oh,
So sometimes you'll have something that's connected and that allows the child to perhaps put a rubber band on the appliance to help move a jaw one way or another. These are very comfortable for patients to wear. And the fascinating thing might catch you off guard, and that is that young kids get very excited about having these appliances.
really?
When they're
Why?
little, sometimes you'll see a child get really excited because, oh, wow, now I got to wear a sling because my arm is sore. Now I get to wear a contraption in my mouth to help my bite. And they love all this stuff, particularly if it comes in colors. If they can pick out colors, now they're really enthused. So
That makes
kids
so much
are
sense.
very, very compliant. And you know what happens to little kids?
What?
They turn into teenagers.
You mentioned rubber bands. Is that a part of braces automatically, or does that vary case by case?
Not everybody needs rubber bands. A lot of patients do need rubber bands and benefit from the rubber bands. The good news, kids, they come in fun colors too.
But what do the rubber bands do in addition to what the braces are doing, or how do they work together?
So the rubber bands are able to help the top and bottom teeth fit better. So let's say it like this. You can have braces on your top teeth, makes the top teeth perfectly straight. Put braces on the bottom teeth are perfectly straight. But how do you make them fit? How do you get the top to fit the bottom? How do you bring them together because they're not connected? Here come the rubber bands. So now you can strategically connect rubber bands from the top to bottom to help make the teeth fit together like a zipper. so that when you bite down, all the teeth fit just the way they should, just like a zipper comes together.
I see.
And with a child, should you start putting the braces or any kind of orthodontic intervention before they've lost teeth, as they begin to lose those baby teeth? How does that change the treatment plan?
Yeah, it's a great question. When do you actually put the braces on? And it's going to
Yeah.
vary from patient to patient. So there are many patients who don't need any orthodontic work until all of the permanent teeth are in, and then you place all the braces at one time. And as we said earlier, you valet park each tooth. When you finish, you make the retainers, and everybody lives happily ever after. There are other patients where the spacing isn't right, and you have to move teeth in order to make a parking spot, make room for a permanent tooth to come in. So sometimes you're short on space, or the space is in the wrong place. Oftentimes, patients will come in with a space between their teeth, and braces are very effective at closing spaces. And so if you have a little bit of space while you're transitioning from baby teeth to permanent teeth, that's normal.
You mentioned it earlier about teenagers not being as compliant. Right. What are some of the potential risks and complications associated with braces treatment in adolescence?
So if you have an adolescent that isn't behaving, they're not brushing their teeth,
Right.
Oh,
right? You can get some stains or some marks on the teeth as a side effect. The truth is that will happen whether or not you're wearing braces. If you don't brush your teeth well, you're going to get cavities or you're going to get spots on your teeth. Those become a little more noticeable if you're wearing braces.
Right.
Why? I'm glad you asked. Because the brace actually protects the tooth. I'll say it again. Wherever the brace is, the tooth is totally protected.
oh, that makes sense.
The sticky stuff, the adhesive that helps keep the brace on the tooth, protects the tooth. So the tooth is fine where the brace is. It's everywhere else where plaque and all the gunk can accumulate and create a side effect.
That makes sense.
So I would say that is the biggest potential side effect of an adolescent that isn't compliant. Another issue would be that the patient doesn't wear the rubber bands as instructed.
Oh.
The teeth will still get straight. So typically parents will be happy because the child has a beautiful smile and the teeth are straight. However, what's missing is the top and the bottom might not match ideally.
Because they didn't wear the rubber bands.
Right, if they didn't wear the rubber band, there's nothing connecting the top and the bottom.
I've noticed when I go into my general dentist, they're always measuring my gums and saying, oh, okay, we're seeing less gum recession now. Is gum recession or inflammation, is that something that could also come from not good hygiene or not complying with the treatment plan?
Yes, that's a great question. If a patient isn't compliant with their hygiene, the plaque builds up on the teeth and the gums get puffy. And when the gums get puffy, they can bleed easily, unhealthy for the gums and probably systemically, meaning for the body, because when you have bad gums in your mouth, who's to say what's absorbed into your system? So on inspection at the regular visits, the dentist office ought to pick up on hygiene practices. And we call that mad gum disease. That's when you have angry red gums that bleed when you touch them. And so that can happen if the kids don't comply with their hygiene.
What's the proper way to care for your teeth while you're in braces or anything, and the rubber bands? What's the proper way to care for them?
So very thoughtful attention to keeping the teeth clean. After people eat, they ought to look in the mirror to make sure that they've got everything out of the braces.
Out of the braces. I remember that.
Right. So that there isn't any teasing. You don't want to walk around with a cucumber in your braces.
Spinach. Oh,
Right,
yeah.
spinach.
We all did that.
And to make sure that you don't have plaque accumulating on the teeth. So thorough brushing is really critical when you have braces. You can get plaque without braces, but the braces can get in the way of hygiene of brushing. In other words, you have to brush taking into consideration that there are wires there and make sure that the little bristles get underneath the wire and around all of the braces to keep the whole tooth clean. So a mirror comes in handy. And I know from having 3 sons that a mirror is not part of the normal armamentarium of a teenage boy. Like they're not using the mirror very often for any purpose, but they need to use the mirror.
How should someone's diet change when they have braces? And what I'm referring to is, like, I've heard you're not supposed to have bubble gum, you're not supposed to have popcorn, or like a candied apple or something like that. Does that change?
Sticky or hard.
Yeah, sticky, hard, anything that has those kinds of substances or textures to it. Is that true?
It's true that you ought to do some modification, some alteration of diet.
Okay.
We had 2 basic rules in my practice. 2 rules.
What are they?
Rule number 1, don't do anything to break your braces.
Okay.
Rule number 2, don't do anything to hurt your doctor.
Okay.
Be nice to the doctor, don't break your braces, all
yeah,
right?
yeah.
If we do that, we're all good, all
Yeah.
right? We can work on the rubber band thing. Now, avoid things that will break your braces. We're talking about obvious choices, which aren't so obvious sometimes to teenage boys.
Well, yeah.
So if a jawbreaker can break a jaw, what do you think it would do to braces?
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Bet you have seen it all.
What about
So-
popcorn? I love popcorn.
I do too. Is that a no-no?
Popcorn can break braces. I am sure that a very thoughtful person could find a way to chew it without breaking it,
But
but
be careful. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say you've gotten your braces. Everything has gone well with the treatment plan. You've been compliant, or your child has been compliant with everything. You're liking the way it looks. How do you maintain this beautiful smile after your treatment is over?
Life after braces.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a great question. The teeth continue to move throughout life. This may be astounding to you, but whether or not you ever wear braces, your teeth will move throughout life.
Right?
The only way to keep the teeth from moving is to make a retainer. And the retainers are typically delivered after orthodontic care to keep the teeth right where you put them during your orthodontic treatment. How long do you wear them? As long as you want your teeth to stay
Okay.
straight.
That's what
When
my
you s-
next question is. But you really do need it for the rest of your life.
You do. And when you stop wearing the retainer, they will either move very, very slowly or fast. One of the two.
Wow.
There is no other option. They will move, guaranteed.
That's
That's
why
what
my
they're gonna
bottom
move.
teeth are
Bottom
crooked.
Too. That's why my bottom teeth aren't as perfect as
Why
the
is
top.
it always the bottom?
Don't. Why is it
Yeah,
always
why is
the
it always the
bottom?
bottom?
Ask the expert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is it always the bottom? Number 1, it is more often the bottom.
Okay.
And it has to do with some scientific kind of stuff where your jaw actually continues to change a little bit as you mature. You may not have been aware of this, but your body continues to change throughout life. Nothing stays the same. These ears were not always this big.
Right?
I
They
wasn't
get
gonna
bigger.
say
I
anything.
know.
They do get bigger.
They do
Everything
get bigger.
changes.
And your jaw changes just a tiny little bit. All it takes is a little tiny bit of extra change in your lower jaw can actually grow a little bit even after the rest of you has finished growing. And as that lower jaw, if it grows a little bit, then the bottom teeth can hit the top teeth. They crash into each other. And a defense mechanism, instead of teeth crashing and breaking, the bottom teeth rotate or they tilt back.
Oh,
Right.
preventative.
And so it's really a defense mechanism
Yeah.
to protect the integrity of your teeth. So the bottom teeth tend to move more than the upper teeth. There's probably some other scientific stuff that I could bring up, but nevertheless, you're right. They do move more. When they move very slowly, like they often do, people don't notice at first. So when you first accidentally, maybe accidentally on purpose, got rid of your retainer, that you noticed that when you came home from school, after maybe for Thanksgiving, you looked in the mirror. It's like, hey, nobody's going to notice. They didn't
I'm
move.
fine.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm fine. You know. However, over time, when you look at
Yes.
5-year intervals, you will see a difference in your teeth.
Definitely. Definitely.
I know there are different types of retainers. Quickly, could you tell us what those are?
Yeah, you can categorize the retainers in 2 different ways. One is where you have some that are connected to the teeth. So you can have a skinny little wire that's put on the inside of the teeth, particularly on the bottom, because those are the ones who want to wander around. They have a really good memory and they want to go back to home where they started. So you can put a little wire on the inside. The other type of retainer is removable, and that's the kind that you can take in and out. And those, they can work really well. They need, well, both sets of retainers need to be maintained. So they both have to be supervised by a doctor to make sure that they're in good shape.
Adjustments.
And if you want to go on, put your teeth on double secret probation, then you can have both. So you
Oh.
could have a permanent wire on the inside, and then you could have another retainer that goes on the outside. And there are many reasons why it's a brilliant way to retain bottom teeth.
That's amazing.
This is so interesting. Okay, we have this section of our podcast called Ask the Expert.
Yes.
This is an opportunity for our listeners and our viewers to ask you, the expert, a question anonymously. And I'm going to start. First person's asking, will braces hurt and how can I manage it throughout the treatment process?
It's a fair question, and the answer is if you are an adult, they will probably hurt when you first have them placed. The good news is, while they're being placed, does not hurt. No pain when they're being placed. You will leave and say, okay, I'm good, this is great. I always like to tell the truth, and I'll say, hey, it's going to be a little ticklish. Translation, it's probably going to bug you. Over the next 3 days, you might even want to throw toilet paper on my house. I don't know. It might make your teeth a little tender. They giggle. I say, okay, I'm overstating it. But expect your teeth to be very sensitive if you're an adult. If you're a young child, probably very little. As a teenager, kind of in the middle. All right?
Interesting. So the pain gets worse as you age.
Your teeth are more sensitive as you mature,
Mm-hmm.
right? And how do you manage it? You can use over-the-counter. You can use an ibuprofen or an acetaminophen, that sort of thing to help. I would highly recommend a lot of ice cream. That always helps.
Froyo always
Some good
fixes
comfort
everything.
food is very helpful. And then over time, it dissipates. And you might say, well, how long does it take to go away? And it's very different for each patient. But the way I would explain it is that you won't notice that all of a sudden it's gone until one day you'll just say, wow, I really don't feel them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's gradual. It's gradual. And you know what? You're going to avoid hard and sticky foods because your teeth are going to be tender right when you get them.
That's true.
It is so worth it. And some adults will say, this is awesome. I love feeling this. I've wanted to do this my entire life. I know how it's going to change my life for good. Now that I have found a way to bring that into my life and I'm wearing the braces, I'm so glad. Almost like you might feel really good when you're sore after a great workout because you know you're doing something good for you, right? That you really want to do. And it's by choice.
Yeah, it's a good kind of sore.
It's a good sore.
Yes.
Definitely. When it comes to your smile, I mean, what wouldn't you do? You know, it's so much part of you. Okay, this next question is, I have permanent retainers on both top and bottom, but my dentist and I both have a very hard time flossing. Should I get them removed?
It's a very fair question, and for some people the answer is going to be yes, and for many people it's going to be, hey, why don't you figure out how to floss under there?
Okay.
All right, and have some coaching. There are different ways that you can get floss under there. There are different, I'll call them instruments, different products that help make it easier to keep things clean. If you can keep that permanent retainer, sometimes we call it a bonded retainer because it's connected to the teeth. If you can keep that in, you will probably have straight teeth for life. When you take it out, there's a very good chance that things will move. You have to replace it if you remove it with a removable retainer. So
Which
you
may
don't take
not
it
be
out
as
and just
effective.
run away from the whole thing. The removable retainers can be effective, as I may have shared previously. The ideal situation is to have both on the bottom.
Right. Wow. Okay.
This person wants to know, Dr. Kerman, can braces fix an overbite and other severe bite issues, or are there cases where surgery may be necessary?
So the answer is yes and yes.
Okay.
Yes, braces can fix big overbites, and there are ways to do that. You need to add something over and beyond the braces, so it may be adding rubber bands. Maybe you were just born with too many teeth. I mean, if you have too many teeth on the top,
interesting.
then you'll have a big overbite. Some people have extra teeth. Or you got mom's jaws and dad's teeth, so you have small jaws and big teeth, so you might not have enough room for all the teeth. There are a lot of different ways to address that. I'll call it overbite giganticus. You have overbite giganticus, doesn't necessarily mean you need to have an operation on the jaw, nor do you have to make everything perfect. So if you do have overbite giganticus, how would you feel if you got rid of 50% of it or 80% of it? Would that be a feel good? Would that be something that you would live with? And if it isn't, then you need to talk with the surgeon. And the surgeon is a very specialized dentist that does operations on the mouth while braces are on the teeth.
Wow. Okay. This last question is, I recently got my braces off. How often do I have to see my orthodontist, or can I just see my regular dentist? Good question.
It's a really good question. So the protocol that I embraced was to see a patient 6 to 8 weeks after the braces come off to make sure that the retainers are fitting really well, answer questions, and if they're doing a great job and everything looks terrific, I'd say come back in 10 months or 10,000 miles and let's see how you look.
Yeah.
And when they
makes
got
sense.
to 10 months or 10,000 miles, if everything was great, I gave patients a congratulation certificate. You just graduated from the
that.
orthodontist. Congratulations. Here's your job. Wear your
That's so
retainer
great.
every night for the rest of your life. Have your dentist check your retainer every 6 months. When you have your teeth cleaned, if there's any doubt about what's going on, come back and see us.
Okay.
So the dentist can supervise and look, but it doesn't mean that the dentist has to be the one who owns it and replaces the retainers. They may be very comfortable replacing the retainers, but on the other hand, they may suggest that you go back to the orthodontist
For an adjustment.
You know what we didn't ask, Selah?
What?
How much does all this cost?
Oh,
We're talking
great
traditional
question.
braces and then following up with retainers. In their most basic forms, how much ballpark is someone going to have to pay for these?
And does insurance cover any of this?
So I'll start with the last question. That's what little kids do. I guess I'm becoming a little kid. I'll answer the last one first.
That's a good thing.
That was that insurance oftentimes will have coverage. About half of all patients have some orthodontic coverage.
Okay.
More children have coverage than adults.
Oh, that makes sense.
yeah.
Okay.
And when it comes to fees, it's very regional. So different parts of the country have very different fee schedules. And you also find that within a city. So you may have a community where, or a practice that has very, very high fees. And you may have some other practices that are, we'll call value priced, where they have very, very low fees. So it varies quite a bit. I'm going to answer the question instead of being a politician. Yeah. So I would say on the low end of what a fee would be for comprehensive orthodontics with braces would probably be in the 3,000s.
Okay.
I'm not sure that I've heard of anybody doing it in the 2,000s.
Okay.
I will say that an average is probably closer to 6,000. And there are practices where the fees are
Beverly
maybe
Hills.
over 10,000.
Right, okay.
$12,000, depending on location.
Location.
And the doctor that you see.
Right.
And this isn't like an upfront cost all at once. This is something that you can structure payments, right?
Yes.
Could you use CareCredit, the CareCredit credit card?
The CareCredit credit card makes it so that families can work this into their budget. And so these payment options allow patients to pay for something that they're going to enjoy for an entire lifetime, yet pay it out over a period of months or years.
That's great.
It's your smile.
Yeah.
Right? Why not invest in your smile and why not start young when it comes to your kids, right?
Yes. Well, now I'm going to start very young with
Me
my kids.
too. Me too. Dr. Gurman, thank you so much for
Thank
joining us
you.
today. We'd love to have you back.
So
It's been a
informative.
pleasure.
Oh, great.
Yeah, you were so informative. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us and being part of our growing community.
Stay tuned for new Care Expert episodes every Wednesday. And don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app and YouTube. Hey there, don't leave yet. Just wanted to say if you want to hear more about health and wellness, check out these episodes of Care Experts. Also, before you go, make sure you like and subscribe.